So I'm back out in the field with the adder with the 130 limb set. I brought with me the 180 limb set, these 15-inch bolts from Celtic Crossbows on eBay, which are really nice, and then a plethora of different broadheads. And I'm going to test them today at 20 yards against this Gammon. So the first thing I want to do is just zero in the sight at 20 yards because I believe it's zeroed for 40. Interestingly, that went super low, so I'm going to bring it up 1.5 turns on the scope, on the sight, sorry. So I'm already, it's quite windy, I'm already almost on zero. Let's try again. Fourth shot, it is quite windy. As you can see, this is not a great grouping, but it is mega windy and these bolts aren't super heavy. So I'm going to just keep trying this last shot. May have to bring the target closer for this experiment though, with this wind. By this point, the wind was getting significantly worse, and I'd actually pulled the target closer from 20 yards to 10 yards in the hope of a better grouping, but I was beginning to realise that I was fighting a losing battle against the wind. I did have a lot more footage trying and failing to zero the red dot sight in the wind. Checking the weather report, I had a crosswind of force 6 gusting to force 7, so I gave up trying and moved into the storeroom. In hindsight, I should have known the field was a pointless venture, but I was eager to test out the broadheads with the adder. The storeroom, albeit less windy, didn't offer the same distance the field offers, which left me feeling like the broadhead testing video was a bit of a failure. Regardless of that, I was in the storeroom, I had the broadheads, I had the Gammon, and I decided I would still get a couple of videos shooting the Gammon, just so it didn't feel completely pointless. Before I set up the Gammon in front of the target, I just needed to find zero again, as the storeroom is probably 5 yards, and I had been attempting to shoot outdoors at 10 yards. I was happy now that the next adjustment would put the bolt on zero. So this is the first broadhead I used. I had actually used it outside, but the footage is just, the camera's so wet, there's so much wind, just wasn't any point in putting it in this video. So I thought I'll start again inside the storeroom with this broadhead. So the next broadhead was this sort of little um, pointy uh, tip. I'm not even sure of the correct terminology, to be totally honest. And I bought this one quite a while ago, so I'm not even sure whether it was from eBay or from Amazon. But I do know that it was cheap, but also quite sharp. This was the third broadhead I had. Again, very sharp. I have actually written on the packet where I got it from. It's not a branded archery broadhead. It was again a broadhead from Amazon or eBay perhaps. And note the way I'm cocking the crossbow has to be done in this way to stop the anti cocking hook from engaging the string. So it does look a little bit funny when you do this with the 5-shot magazine. This last broadhead was very similar to the previous broadhead, except it had a twist in it. So there'd be no point in doing this without having some sort of frame of reference. So for this shot, the fifth shot, I decided to shoot the field tip, standard sort of field tip that comes with these bolt heads, into the gammon, just to have some sort of idea of how it fares up compared to the broadheads. This is the last shot I took. In all fairness, I was actually pretty fed up by this point, just because the field test had gone so wrong. But I decided to use the original sort of two-bladed broadhead again and try to just have a bit more space between the gammon and the target. That way, I could just really get an idea of the penetration from, with this broadhead on the 130 limb. My conclusion was that, firstly, shooting in the wind was a stupid idea, and I should have really considered that. However, I just was so excited about shooting the broadheads, I thought I'm going to have a go. But like I said, I haven't put most of the footage in of me attempting to get a tight grouping because it would just be boring to watch. So I just put a few in. You can see how much I was struggling. Move into the storeroom. The problem with the storeroom is that you're not going to get an accurate idea of these broadheads' capabilities at 5 yards. Realistically, it should be at 20 yards. I don't have a 20-yard indoor space. It has to be in the field. I need to do it again when the weather is better. As in this video, the field tip had, not too dissimilar penetration to the two-bladed broadhead. So I think it needs to be at 20 yards, and I will see if you can get a complete pass through with the 130 limb. I also had the 180 limb, which I wanted to use. which I just thought there's no point here today. So I'm not amazingly happy with how this turned out, but I think for me, I learned that all the field tips and broadheads are the same at 5 yards, and there's just no way you're going to get a tight grouping when it's 4-6, 4-7 winds. But I will do my best to get a better video done in the hope that we don't have any wind. But we are December in the UK.